Alright, so we're putting the oil cooler on. I found these in the kit, seemed to match the hole the best. There were some smaller ones, but they jiggled around too much. I put a little oil on all the surfaces, washed this thing out real well. There's some debate on whether this is a late, or I think it's a later oil cooler where they changed the mounting from something or other. Anyway, there's a washer in these spots, and I think that is to provide an interface between the cooler and the case so it doesn't wear into it. Every nut on here was screwed up, so I went through and found 3 new ones, and I chased the threads down here on the studs. I'm also going to put a washer down there. I found these that were pretty close and drilled them out to fit. Now, the plan here is to drop the nut before I start, is to get these on without dropping it down in between the cylinders. Alright, that's much better. Now this one's the one that's kind of close. So, as usual the case with my microphone of late, we have lost audio again. So here we're going to try to get this oil cooler on. It's kind of a pain because the nuts and washers are underneath. So anyway, I get it put on there and then realize that it's something still isn't right. So I'm going to end up researching and figure out what's going on with this, and we'll come back to this later. So we'll move on from the oil cooler, and we're installing the distributor drive shaft, which is driven off of the crank as the slot for the distributor drive and the fuel pump eccentric. The slot lines up that direction to get the number 1 cylinder, or to get the distributor pointed at number 1. So it's down in there with some assembly lube and oil, and then there's a spring. Again, I guess I couldn't show you properly, but there's a spring that goes down in the middle of that, and you just kind of shove that down in. And then the distributor, I'll shoot a little bit more oil in there, but the distributor, line up that slot, and the distributor drops down in, pointing the rotor towards the front, which there's a mark on the distributor where number 1's supposed to line up, and it drops right down in, and you tighten the clamp on it. Okay, got the fuel pump cleaned up. Got this like phenolic spacer looking thing on it. So, and the O-ring that was on there was rock hard. It looked like there was one in the kit, so it fit. Put it on there, and then it occurred to me, probably don't even need, I put a little bit of RTV on there, probably doesn't need it, because this O-ring should seal anything from ever getting there, but I'm not sure that it was, because it was rock hard. I'm going to go ahead and put some assembly lube on the end of this, and I already put some on the eccentric, plus I can't reach it, so let's put it in the correct orientation. And it's just held on with 2 M8 bolts. So that pretty much, I'm going to research that oil cooler mount, because I'm not so sure it's not incorrect. And maybe next we'll go adjust the valves. I'm not sure if I'll show you that or not, because I think you've seen that before. Alright, figured I'd show you adjusting the valves. This is the number 3 and 4 side. I'm trying to do this without screwing up my freshly painted valve covers, which I mean, the first time you take it off, it's going to screw up the paint, but it is what it is. Let's see if our gasket's going to stay. And these gaskets didn't fit very well. so I had to kind of glue them on and hope for the best. So now we are on number 3 top dead cylinder. So we should have, intake should be 4 thousandths or 0.1 millimeters. It's a little tight, a lot tight. Exhaust, probably okay, if not a little bit loose. So we lose audio yet again. Anyway, I can go ahead and set the valves for number 3 intake, 3 exhaust, and we turn the engine over and do the 4 intake and exhaust, and then we pop the valve cover back on and we are done. Exhaust on this side. This is the 3/4 side, the driver's side. Alright, that's pretty clean and flat. The heads look pretty good. And I got new gaskets. There's no sense putting anything on them, but we will slather these studs with anti-seize. Okay, so the flapper box, I cleaned them up. So the flapper box for the heat goes on, kind of slips on underneath the heat exchanger tube, and that there's nothing really to hold it on until we get the rest of the engine tin on. So this tube on the heat exchanger, the heat exchanger, that will kind of hold it in place and just keep it from falling off. So anyway, some anti-seize and some of these copper nuts go on and hold that stuff on, and then we just tighten them down with a wrench because you can't get really anything else in there. And then we'll move on to the next step. So since I think this is the end of this clip, thanks for watching, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.